Welcome into another edition of the Hops and Spirits Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Green, and it's another flight night, bourbon style. We're with Traverse City Whiskey this time. Don't forget to check us out for our Give It a Try highlights every Monday night on our social media and our cocktail quickies on Friday night across our social media at Hop Spirits, all one word, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And you can also check us out on YouTube as well. Get the link in any of our bios. And you can go to hopspirits.com as well. We're just everywhere now. That's just what has happened over time. But we're here for another flight night, and this one is an experimental one with Traverse City, and we're joined by Chris Fredrickson. Chris, thanks for being part of this.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much for having me. Great to be here.
And our illustrious crew, as always, we have Jeff the Rabbit, or better known as Chris.
Go on, everybody.
And of course, the VA Bourbon Hunter, Damon.
What's up, guys?
And unfortunately, A is not with us tonight, but I'm sure she'll be trying these and letting us know how her thoughts as always. But I figured let's just jump right into it. But before we open one, I always like to start off with an icebreaker. So this one is, what's your favorite summertime activity? Since, we're right in the middle of July.
Yeah. So Traverse City Whiskey Co. is based up in Traverse City, Michigan, which is the cherry capital of the world. We're known for our outdoor activities year round, whether that be boating, biking, hiking, jogging in the summer, all outdoors, and then snowmobiling, downhill skiing, everything in the winter. My go-to summer vice is boating, is getting onto the water with friends, having a close, intimate circle in the water, and enjoying, a beverage or some lunch with some good friends in the water.
I like it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, D.
Mine is brunch. I love brunch. Me and my squad, we do what we call aggressive brunches every now and then, where we just go, just go bonkers. Either that or the pool. I love going to the pool for a couple of hours and just having a few drinks and just chilling with friends. So those are the main two, but definitely a good aggressive brunch always gets me right.
And I love your pool floaty that I saw the other day.
Yes, yeah. Everyone loved it.
Yeah, well, before COVID, I was big into going to the movies during the summer because that's when all the good movies would come out during the summertime. Now, my summertime hangout is pretty much standing in front of the liquor store, waiting for the liquor store.
I guess that's my number one too.
Yeah.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. You two do a pretty good job finding some good ones over in Virginia, where you got to do a little bit of searching for where they'll be at. For me, I where I live, it's kind of weird because we're bourbon, all that good stuff, but we also have a ton of art and cool creative stuff, from just art fairs where they're juried in, painting, blacksmithing, you name it. But my favorite part is some of these also have beer and liquor, and you can go around and just enjoy it. And it's just a fun time with friends because you're seeing some really cool things and just having a good time. And it's like a guilty pleasure for me because, like I said, they're usually free to go to, or like $10, and you just walk around all day checking out cool things and having some drinks with friends, and that's a good time to me.
Definitely.
So, but we're here to talk bourbon, whiskey, and Chris. I got some good questions from our last chat last year that we'll bring up because I know not everyone knows the story of Traverse City. But the first one of the kind of experimental finishes series that you guys are putting on that we're going to try is the Cab Franc. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when we purchased our still back in 2013, the first spirit that we distilled was 100% rye, and 100% rye by nature is very difficult to make because there are no natural enzymes in it from the malted barley. So we ended up kind of doubling down because everybody at the time 6 years ago was making bourbon, and we thought, well, we'll try to find a differentiator with our rye. So we wanted to do rye, but also a kind of a caveat of rye with 100%. So we again, which is very difficult to ferment and distill. So we made a ton of 100% rye, and as the base spirit, we had a bunch sitting around the warehouse, and we had the same conversation with a local winery called 45 North, and they happened to have a bunch of wine that was reaching end of life. They were like, we're done aging it. We have these cool barrels. Are you guys interested? And the flavor profile of the wine was insane. So we kind of did this droplet. I don't know, this like R&D droplet, drop a little bit of the wine into the whiskey, and the partnership between the two it was amazing. So our 100% rye, we pumped from the barrel into these 53-gallon casks of it's a Cab Franc wine, born and raised in northern Michigan, and rested our whiskey in that wine barrel for 6 months. Between 6 and 9 months. Rested it, pulled it out, and then finished it in a stainless tank for 2 or 3 weeks, and then diluted it down to 100 proof, 100-ish proof, which is what you guys have in front of you right now. And this is to back up one step. Everything that we're tasting right now is part of a series, and we're calling it the experimental series, or the finishing series. And it's a bit of experimental R&D, and then we're taking the whiskey, finishing it in wine casks, and it's very lovely. It's very floral. The whiskey has some good heat, dropped down a bit, 200 proof. Damon, I see you nosing that.
Yeah.
What do you think about the nose?
I mean, it's like, it's strange, right? Because like you get, I mean, you get heavy rye, you get the heavy rye, but the Cab Franc finish like softens it. So it's like, it's like a sweet wine rye almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
100%.
I was gonna say, just it's a kind of I don't know how to explain it, but a nice softer than I was expecting with the 100% rye.
It's like the finish kind of like just softens it, even on the palate.
Yeah. So guys, one thing I'll mention is sometimes finishing, I mean, there's an argument against finishing, and that is it's finishing is intended to hide something with the whiskey, taking the whatever impure notes exist, the wine cask will tease out. And to be blunt, there is nothing to cover up with this 100% rye. It's 5 years old, and it's elegant and wonderful, and it's so easy to drink. But the point behind the finishing series, this experimental piece, is to take that wonderful aged spirit and add to it, add complexity. And that's where the Cab Franc cask kind of comes in. And Cab Franc by nature is dry. And yeah, it's please, take a taste.
To me, it drinks higher than that 100-ish proof that you're saying. Like, to me, I almost feel like it could be in that, like 108 to like 115-ish range, which isn't a bad thing. I love the high proof stuff. This actually just kind of threw me for a loop, because if I'm being honest with you, I don't like very many wine cask finishes, and I didn't expect to like this. But this is super intriguing. Actually, it's like, you kind of don't know what you're tasting, but it's good.
Yeah, I can't exactly put my tongue on it, because I try a lot of wine where I work, and we sell Cab Francs, and I get a little bit of those notes kind of at the end, but it's very tasty. It's different. Very
Yeah,
different.
I think Chris, to go off Traverse City, Chris, not you, Chris, to go off what you were saying, like, you know, a lot of times, you know, like I have a group that does barrel picks, right? And so, you know, there are finishes that people do, and a lot of times they use barrels that are, you know, not the best barrels. They use, you know, like you said, sometimes there's just some imperfections in that barrels, and they say, all right, we're just going to use these for the toasted or the honey finish and so on and so. But this just seems like, you know, it's the Cap Franc is an addition. It's not. There's good whiskey under it, and like the Cap Franc doesn't drown out the taste of the whiskey at all. It just adds on complexity to the palate.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. And that is the intention. And there's no, this is no knock on other distillers that are taking this approach, but there's an art to taking a great whiskey and massaging it with a barrel that will only enhance the flavor profile.
Yeah.
The finish is unique too, because I almost get that drier Cab Franc on it. It's weird. Good weird. Not a bad weird. Good weird. But as we keep talking about this and drinking this, how did you all get started at Traverse City? Because it was a group of friends, if I'm remembering correct, that kind of decided to go just jump in.
Yeah, we group of friends. We were so I'm born and raised in Traverse City, Michigan, which again is northern Michigan on the coast of Lake Michigan, and went away to Michigan State, met a couple of buddies. We all ventured out to our different careers, and we were kind of caught in the grind, so to speak. And my father and I found a set of distilling patents that my great grandfather had patented during the U.S. Prohibition. And my partners happened to be on the farm at the time when we found these, and we started talking in the orchard about what we could do with these. And kind of one thing led to another, and we were eager to find a distraction from the daily grind. And we thought of this idea called Traverse City Whiskey, and one thing led to another. We started a distillery downtown Traverse City, and fast forward 10 years, where we have roughly 10 expressions on the market. We have 3 facilities that help produce our product, and we're sitting here tasting a product that has not been debuted to the market yet. And yeah.
Did you say distilling pen?
Say it again.
You say you found distilling pens?
Oh, sorry. Distilling patents.
Okay.
Yeah. So great question. My great grandfather was a chemical engineer during the Prohibition, and he had 3 separate patents for distilling techniques patented during that era.
Got it. Okay. Wow, that's super cool.
Sorry, yeah. we just got internet up here in Traverse City, so the bandwidth is still a little
That's all right. If you've watched any of Damon's Brownwater lives on Thursday, some of the Virginia folk I think don't have good internet, so it's okay.
Oh God, no.
It's all on him. It's not us.
But I guess too, with that I'll get to the patent story, because that's a fun one when you found it. But is this kind of what was the original plan for y'all, and how much has that changed? Because I don't feel like this was what you expected.
Not even close. No, when we started the company, we were looking for a distraction. We were whiskey nerds, and we enjoyed doing, we had our professional life and then our private life, and we wanted to come up with something that would at least like harbor, I don't know, just some excitement in our private life. And within year 1, by the end, so we sold our first bottle July 7th of 2012. And then by the end of the year, we realized that this is something that we wanted to continue with. I mean, our community in Michigan reacted really well to it. And by the end of year one, we were like, what are we doing? I mean, we're all, my business partners were practicing attorneys. I was in management consulting. And I think we all acknowledge that it's either now or never. So yeah, after purchasing, we ended up purchasing 24 year MGP bourbon barrels. And we launched our first 4-year bourbon with that whiskey, and our community loved it. And it was kind of a, I don't know, a signal to say, hey, we're onto something. We can do something special with this. And after we sold the first 20 barrels, we doubled down and bought 40 more. And then we used those 40 more to, the profit from that paid for our current distillery, where we've been distilling whiskey for the last 7 years. And it's been a uphill, crazy, fun battle since, but that was the origination, or the origin of our distillery.
Man, I got 2 things. One, adding a drop of water in this Cab Franc one, it's like the sweetness just explodes out. It's like a completely different experience. And 2, I'm glad you mentioned you guys buying the MGP barrels. So now you guys are doing your own distillate, is that correct?
Right now we are, because the cherry whiskey and our bourbon are the leaders in our portfolio, we are distilling the same recipe that we worked with MGP on.
Okay.
And we're going to be branching off to do our own separate. It'll be a sub brand to the Traverse City Whiskey Co brand when we bring our current distillery online. So
okay.
we're in a build out phase of our new production facility, visitor center, all of that. That's happening right now. And then Memorial Day 2022, when that comes online, we'll have a fresh recipe that is a little distant from MGP.
Got it. I was only asking because I've had this conversation with a couple of people just about the new distilleries popping up, and MGP is just the hot stuff right now, right? And so I always wonder how the ones that are planning on getting onto their own distillate and like no longer using MGP. Always wonder how they're going to do that with their fan base, because let's say you guys have done, use these MGP barrels for 4 to 5 years. Now, year 5, you're like brand new recipe. And then, I always wonder how that works out. So.
Yeah, no, that's actually a great question. There's a lot of strategy that we've chatted about in house on how to honor what's gotten us here, which is it's an MGP base. And I will say that, so we're not tasting on this chat, but our cherry whiskey has kind of become what we're known for. It's the MGP bourbon recipe, and we steep Mount Morency sour cherries from Traverse City in the whiskey to make our cherry whiskey. And that has become the single best seller, the single best craft spirit in the state of Michigan. So it's a big thing. And there's not really a lane for us to stray from that. Like, why would we tamper with that recipe? However, looking forward, everything that we end up doing in-house that is going to be proprietary to us will need to have its own Traverse City whiskey vibe. So we're going to hang on to the kind of the heritage that brought us to where we're at, but in the same vein, evolve and grow with the new recipe. So everything that we're distilling right now has an MGP recipe base, but it will grow from there.
Got it. Sounds good.
No, that's awesome to hear, and I don't feel like everyone is always as forthcoming on that as they can be, and
not at all.
So that is always cool to hear, and also it's going to be cool to hear. One of my questions after we do the second one is the real family story about how you found the patents, because that's not a made up story like some others have been known to do as well. But our second one that we're testing or tasting tonight is the sherry cask. It's a high rye bourbon. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Yes, absolutely. Perfect. So we are friends with a barrel broker in Spain and Portugal. And so to create this product, we took our high rye bourbon, which is again, it's an MGB distillate that part of it we distilled, part of it they distilled, and it's combined into a distillate that then gets dumped into a Pedro Jimenez cask, it was built in Spain and then dumped out, shipped to the US, and then we transferred our spirit into it and rested it for between 6 to 9 months, harvested, diluted down to about 100 proof, and rested, yes, again, bottled at around 100 proof, and this is it.
I'm looking at the I was looking at the label. Chris has the bottle, so I'm sorry, I'm looking at my phone. Yep. But it says the finish duration 4 months.
Yeah, it is closer to 6 months. I mean, all these have been patiently waiting for harvesting for quite a while. This project took a while to get off the ground. We started it back at the beginning of COVID, back in January of 2020, and everything drug out. Our initial launch date was September of 2020, and that didn't happen for obvious reasons. But we rested it and then harvested it quite a while ago, and then kind of evolved the vision for the program. But yeah, it's anywhere from 6 to 9 months.
I don't know if it's the maybe it being high rye, but usually with sherry casks, I get a super dry / tart finish.
Yeah.
Noses are always excellent, right, because of the casks, but I always end up kind of hating it because of the finish. But this finish, it almost finishes out just like a bourbon. Then almost at the very end, you get that sherry on there, and it's kind of rounds it out pretty well, and it gives that little extra added flavor.
Yeah, some sweetness at the end.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I haven't had that many sherry casks, but I've had enough to know that I think this might be the first time I've had one that actually tasted sweet. Which is a good thing. So I love it, but it's very interesting. And once again, it definitely drinks like a higher proof to me. Was there a reason you guys proved it down to about 100, just to stretch out a little bit, or just tasted better?
No, it tasted better. We didn't want to do this at barrel proof because there's a very specific community that enjoys barrel proof spirits, and there's also
that guy down there.
Yeah, that's us.
Yeah, no, it's really finding that sweet spot, no pun intended, but it's finding that consumer that will enjoy spirits that aren't too hot but also not too light.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our cherry whiskey is bottled 70 proof, and of course anything like this, no way. Mm-hmm. But if we can find that sweet spot between, say, 90 and 110 proof, which at the end of the day, these will be bottled between probably 95 and 100 proof. So everything we're tasting is around 100, and it's the best representation that we can share today.
Yeah, you know what it is for me? For me, I look for like the barrel proof, maybe just barrel proof in general. I look for complexity in pours. And a lot of times with the lower proof stuff, you know, with it being watered down, you get less complexity. But I think you guys have done like a really good job of, you know, still maintaining that complexity. And I think that goes to show with the finishes, but that finish with the 100 proof, and like I said, it already drinks a little bit higher to me than the 100 proof. I mean, that's a pretty solid pour to me.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I can second that. It's got for whatever reason, my palate's not great tonight, but at least I'm picking up all my flavors. And like I said, maybe I'm a little distracted from what happened to me before I came on, but it's got a nice, it's nice and it's different from the other one. I like the sherry though. I guess because we've done enough of these now, I swear we have a sherry finish on a couple of these. Yeah, so we're getting used to them, and but that's not a bad thing because now we got some things to compare it to, and this one's a nice one.
I'll go on record and say that this is the best sherry cask that we have tried, and at least in my opinion, since we've done this.
Yeah, I could second that. I'm not going to mention any names, but yeah.
So guys, out of curiosity, between the sherry and the Cab Franc, what is your preference individually?
Me, I think I like the Cab Franc a little bit better.
Okay,
it's not as sweet personally. I like it.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that I would go sherry because of the sweetness.
Yeah, and I'll split the difference. I'm not going to say I like, but the Cab Franc, I think for me, I don't know what it is with the rye and the finish. It just I don't know. It just hit the palate a little better. But the sherry's really good too. Now we've talked a little bit about this. You've mentioned the patents. Can you tell how you found the patents and how kind of upset you were at your family for never mentioning this before?
We've been down this road before, but yeah, the patents were patented by my great grandfather, and it was unusual because my father and I charted the help of my business partners to help us clean out one of the storage facilities in the family farm, and we were digging through. It wasn't rubbish exactly, but we came across a box of documents that included the patents, and I asked my dad about them, and he said, yeah. I mean, whatever. And then I confronted my grandmother with the patents, and I said, I've talked to you for years about whiskey. Why on earth why wouldn't you mention this? This is your father. This is what he was doing. And she kind of just shrugged it off. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. This is my thing. This is my shtick. And she, nonchalantly just brushed it off. But it was the irony was that I only talked about one thing, one passion at family gatherings, and my grandmother listened for years, but never mentioned that my great grandfather was not just a chemical engineer, but a closet bootlegger that made moonshine in the attic regularly. Nice. But back in the day, it wasn't a big deal. It was very regular. And so she kind of knocked it down with the regularity of how, yeah, that was what everybody did, of course. but today that would not be a thing, right? Like if you had a friend who was making whiskey in the attic or the basement, they'd be your best friend and you tell everybody, right?
Definitely.
Yeah
100%.
I love that, and because you have that family history, and how cool is that to kind of be doing that now? That's your job.
Legally.
Legally.
Yeah, no, so cool. And it's funny. My grandmother passed away last year, but she was like terribly honored by the fact that this became a thing. And it was always kind of a sad point knowing that a lot of the family that would have really appreciated this piece had recently passed away. But in c'est la vie, it's the family history is great, and having that support from them to make this to what it is today is great.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And you guys are doing some cool things. And our third one of the three that we're going to try tonight is the port finish. It's a straight bourbon. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah. So this is the bourbon is an evolution. So it's bourbon rested in port ruby barrels. So we've had a bourbon rested in port wine barrels prior to this. We recently retired it, and pardon me. We had a port finished bourbon and then a barrel proof port. And we decided that we were going to take that port barrel finish and send it end of life. It was what it was. We started back in 2015 with 20 port wine barrels, backfilled it with our 21% rye, 75% corn, 4% malted barley bourbon. And we made a barrel proof port, and it was great. But we said if we're gonna have a series, an R&D experimental series, or the finishing series, we want to do it all together. So we have the 100% rye finished in the Cab Franc. We have the 36% rye bourbon finished in the sherry barrels. We're going to take our 21% rye bourbon and then finish it again in a different style port wine barrel. And these ruby port barrels, again, are very fruity. You may pick it up on the nose. It's less dry, in my opinion, than any of the others. But it's very dynamic, and it's fun. It plays well. The bourbon plays very well with the port. I mean, that's why port is so exciting in this community. Mm-hmm. What do you guys think? I mean, nose, taste, flavor, color.
So, okay, so I have never come across a port finish that I've like super enjoyed, and I can say that I'm being honest, this one is not for me, but it's still super complex though. Like you said, it's almost like I don't know if I'm drinking wine or bourbon. Like when I have it on the palate, it's like yeah, like you get the corn, and then like you get like I get like even now it's like the rye, and I almost get like a cherry note. Chris?
I'm here.
Yeah, what say you?
No, the other Chris.
I didn't hear you.
Back?
Hello?
Are we back?
We're back.
Are we good? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, maybe a malfunction.
Yep.
Everybody good?
Yep.
I think so.
But yeah, no, I definitely this port reminds me a lot of wine for sure. Very smooth though, very smooth. Easily so like Damon was saying, the other two kind of drink a little bit higher than their proof. I think this one is right at its proof, like drinking wise.
Yeah, definitely. But it's like, like I said, that like it wasn't for me, but I keep wanting to have another pour of it. So I like there's this. It definitely intrigues me, and like the more that I sip it, the more that I actually like it. Actually, it's like it's just so complex and so smooth that I may just change my mind in person.
I was gonna say I know D just from doing these now. He likes the complexity where, just different flavors. I think one of his favorites that we did was barrel, just because they got 3 or 4 finishes put together and things like that. And those I feel like, and even to these to a degree, remind me of that in the sense that there's certain people that would want to give these to. because I don't know if everyone would truly get it or understand it. But I feel like they're still, though, very approachable no matter what you've done before, like what your bourbon journey is. But these do have some extra complexity that I think others would enjoy more than some.
Yeah, I definitely think Ariella would love these. Being a wino, she would really enjoy these.
Yeah, to me, it seems like all three of these, it's like you have a friend that's into Scotch, but like wants to dabble in a bourbon, and but they're used to like the Scotch flavors and like not their barrel proof is it's like 86 proof, so our barrel proof is completely different. And I feel like these are really good like starter points where like you still get like it's not the 120 130 proof that my entire house is filled with, but it still has that complexity. It's still smooth, and you kind of get everything you want like in a bourbon plus a little bit more with those finishes.
Yeah, thank you. That's I suppose that's exactly what we're going for.
CD, you just knew exactly what to say.
I'm not moving to Michigan.
Now, Chris, when are you hoping to release these? Are they going to kind of come out all at once? Are they going to come out staggered? What's kind of the thought process behind the experimental finishing series?
Yeah, great question. The plan is to stagger, starting early August through October, and then one a month. We've made about an equal amount of each expression, so it'll be a tiered rollout, and we're not just going to offer it at the still house, or we have a tasting room in Detroit called the Outpost. We will release it at both, but we're also going to put it into distribution. So right now we're selling product in half the country, mainly around the coast, and then East Coast, West Coast, Midwest Coast, and then Colorado in that general area. But we're putting it into distribution a bit, and yeah, so it'll be on the market in the next month or so.
Any plans on coming to Virginia?
This year, at the earliest, next year at the latest. Yes.
Wow. Usually people say not anytime soon because of the ABC. So that's actually a
control.
Wow. Okay.
No, it's an ugly beast, but we're finally prepared to deal with that.
Nice.
Yeah. And are you looking at expanding too? Because I mean, obviously, with expansion into more markets means you got to either have the production to back it or anything like that. Or is that something y'all are looking at doing? Because I mean, you're in about half the states right now. Is that what you said?
Yeah, half the states. Yeah, we have a 5-year plan right now to evolve from 26 to the balance of the nation in the next 5 years. And we've been preparing for this and building for this for the last 5 years. So one day at a time.
And I'm guessing the new facility will help with that. Is that part of the 5-year plan? Because that's something you guys have been working a lot on.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, our current production, we're able to produce 3 barrels a day, and in the new facility, we'll be able to produce north of 67. So
wow,
it's a big jump, and it'll help grow everything responsibly and efficiently, which is great.
Nice.
That's awesome. And anyone got some follow-up questions? Because I know y'all like to hold back and then unleash at the end.
I don't have very many. I mean, I'd say that first, thanks for having us, and thanks for sending us samples. I legitimately was not super excited with the finishes, but you've definitely changed my mind. I'm definitely a fan. So that says a lot for me. I'll tell you that much. But so like future wise, I know you guys are expanding crazy. Any futures on, I don't know, maybe single barrel programs or anything like that?
Yeah, we have a very active single barrel program. So if you guys want to chat offline about something as a group, would love to continue that conversation. We have a wonderful selection of bourbon and rye and little wheat that are creeping up, and then everything that we've tasted tonight is kind of on its own beast. No single barrels of the port finish or the cab sauv or anything like that. But in terms of future dev, it's, we just released our highballs, which are whiskey seltzer. We have our cocktail cherries, which are on fire. And if you guys like a cocktail garnish, that is, make a Manhattan old fashioned. Cocktail cherries are the jam. Other than that, the balance of the pipeline is all R&D right now. But yeah, that's where we're at.
That's all. What is this whiskey seltzer?
Yeah. Yep.
Never heard. It sounds amazing.
So you guys have tried like a truly White Claw, right? Like we all have. Hopefully.
Do I have to admit to that, or because
so
we can just film it. Yeah.
I will admit to that. I enjoy a good White Claw. I enjoy a good White Claw. The White Claw is made with a beer base for alcohol, and we decided it was time to make something that was a whiskey based seltzer. So most other shops build their seltzer with the beer base, and we decided, we're a whiskey company and we have to do it right. So a very traditional Japanese cocktail is the whiskey highball, and we built a canned whiskey highball with our whiskey, with our bourbon, and we have 3 expressions. One, the original with bourbon, seltzer, and a dash of bitters.
Okay.
Our flagship, which is whiskey seltzer with a dash of cherry. Again, Traverse City is the cherry capital of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then our citrus, which is whiskey seltzer with a dash of citrus, which is a blend of lemon and lime. All natural and awesome. And if you want to go out on the weekend and have instead of having a beer, have a seltzer, grab a Traverse City whiskey highball, and it's a canned 5% ABV, all natural ingredients, and it's so good, very tasty. We just released it.
Wow. So where is the closest state to me where I can find this at?
We just pushed it into distribution. It'll be in DC in no time.
Bet. I'm there. I'm traveling.
I was gonna say that gives you an excuse to head out. One thing that I think you should try if you haven't, because I know you've been trying to find something for your lady, the cherry whiskey, because I've had that and I've had it multiple ways, and if you literally pour like a little bit of Coke in there, it tastes like a cherry Coke. Like it is wonderful. Like it's a weird thing, because I've given it to some of my family and friends that aren't big whiskey drinkers, and they've enjoyed it too, because it's on that lighter side, but it still gives you that whiskey, because it's what, 70 proof? Is that what you said, Chris?
Yep 70 proof.
No.
Okay, I'll look for that. Actually, I'm always trying to find some new stuff to have her taste. She just hates all of it usually.
And then Chris, aka Jeff the Rabbit, do you have any follow-ups or anything you want to ask?
I don't. I just want to say appreciate you having us on. This was a nice eye opener. Didn't have too high expectations, not gonna lie. Like I said at the beginning, this was my first time trying any Traverse City, but definitely be the last.
Cool.
Second.
Thank you so much.
Now for those that haven't maybe listened to the last episode that you and I did, you guys have multiple expressions. Can you talk a little bit about those and just let folks know? Because I mean, you got the North Coast Rye, you've got the barrel proof, the straight bourbon, things like that. Can you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah. So our poster children are the our straight bourbon, which is aged 4 years, our cherry whiskey, which is aged between 2 and 3 years, and it's, again, as I mentioned, the best-selling craft beer in the state of Michigan, and our kind of the flagship of our portfolio, and our North Coast Rye, which is about a 4-year rye whiskey. We also have a barrel-proof bourbon and a barrel-proof rye that are the namesakes of our single barrel program. So if anybody is interested in single barrels, that's the direction we usually point them. But that is the crux of the portfolio. And then in addition to that, we'll have the finishing series.
And what does the barrel proof come in at?
Price or proof?
Proof.
Anywhere between 110 and 120. Just depends on the barrel.
Yeah, because I was thinking about those two, depending on how this shows up on my screen to my left, because they like a little higher proof, which I don't mind either. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, it's interesting. Up in northern Michigan, we have 4 very well-defined seasons, and because we have crazy fluctuation, we get a better aging process, and we also have a high relative humidity, and that leads to we lose. So as you age a barrel, you lose one of two things. You lose water or alcohol, and typically in Kentucky, you lose water to create a higher proof barrel. And in Michigan, there's no way around it. We have not opened a barrel greater than 122 proof.
Wow.
With an entry proof of 125 ish. And there's, anything we crack is typically between 110, 120. And it's unusual, but and most people say it, they're like, oh, I love higher proof, but higher proof is not something that with the Great Lakes, and again, that relative high humidity, it's not something that we can create. But again, c'est la vie.
Well, that's why you're the whiskey of the North, and you guys have a unique thing that you guys it just happens up there, and that's part of the, talking to folks in Texas, a 2-year-old in Texas could be more of a 4-year-old in Kentucky.
Exactly. Yep.
Because of the heat, and so every place is different and brings out different flavors. And I guess we'll wrap this up with my final question. What can you tell us? This is still recording. What's next for y'all?
Next is a new facility. We've been planning it for 3.5 years, and we got kind of postponed by COVID. But our next big thing is, well, with the whiskey of the North, is the Distillery of the North. And back in 2018, we acquired a property north of downtown Traverse City. It's a 35-acre parcel with a 35,000 square foot production facility on site. And we've been planning and building, and we're about to break ground. And our goal with the new facility, which is kind of a hybrid guest experience and production parcel, it'll be the most humble and approachable version of a distillery out there that helps bring anybody who's even slightly intrigued by the science behind distilling into the process, to make it easy to understand and guided through everything end to end in the most transparent way possible. So no secrets, just pure, this is what we do. This is why we do it and how we do it. And this is the end product. And so we'll be online Memorial Day 2022, and it will be great. So when you're in Traverse City, come by, say hi, shake hands, kiss babies. Let's be friends.
That's awesome, man.
I love that. And also too, if you don't know, Traverse City is beautiful, great vacation place. Think about it.
Yep.
It never hurts. So, Chris, I appreciate it. Chris, D, I also appreciate y'all. I hope everything's going good. And I can't wait to hear what you think as well on this. And everyone, I appreciate it as always.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Appreciate it.
Cheers.